the podcast where the rock station from back
Tonight.
goes back over.
Tonight on your news at 9.
Depressants. It's hard enough because your dick shrinks when you have them. Yeah.
Tonight on your News at 9.
The third round of stimulus checks are beginning to hit bank accounts across the country. I'm Charles Watson with more on the stimulus check rollout, plus the latest on the pandemic coming up.
President Joe Biden has accelerated the national vaccine rollout timeline, catching some states off guard. In New York, I'm Alex Hogan. How officials are preparing coming up.
Meteorologist Nick Kelly has your weather. Danny Terzer is on sports. I'm Mike Mahoney, and this is your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, thanks as always for tuning in. As stimulus checks start rolling out across the country, COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations, and deaths continue to fall. But as Fox News' Charles Watson reports, experts worry about another surge as Americans grow weary of the pandemic.
The third round of stimulus checks are on the way. Some people are already starting to see direct deposits hit their bank accounts just days after President Biden signed the American Rescue Plan into law. The first batch of $1,400 payments was sent out Friday, with more rolling out in the coming weeks as the IRS continues to process tax returns as well.
We're told one thing, we're processing a certain way, and then we're like, whoa, stop, you gotta do it this way now. So it's been really hard to keep up with.
An estimated 85% of Americans are eligible for the payments. Millions of people are waiting anxiously for the next round of relief, already planning how they will spend it.
I plan on putting them in the bank to save because I plan on buying a house.
As financial relief settles in, so does a sense of hope. COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations have been rapidly declining for weeks, and now the death rate is following suit. Daily deaths have dropped to about 1,400 from a peak of roughly 4,500 during the post-holiday surge. But experts warn the country is not out of the woods just yet, and Americans shouldn't let their guard down too soon.
We are at a critical point in this pandemic and on the cusp of having enough vaccine to protect every adult in the United States. We ask for your patience in practicing proven prevention measures for just a little while longer.
And if you haven't received your stimulus check yet, don't worry. Starting Monday, you can use the Get My Payment tool on the IRS website to check the status of your deposit. In Atlanta, Charles Watson, Fox News.
President Biden has moved up the nation's vaccine timeline, catching some states off guard. After rationing doses for months, officials are now bracing for a sudden surge in vaccine supply, which could cause problems of its own. Fox News' Alex Hogan has details on how various states are preparing.
The vaccine rollout is ramping up. The Biden administration is increasing the nation's supply over the next 2 months, forcing states to adjust their distribution efforts. Officials are preparing for a big boost in supply in the early April, opening up vaccination sites, recruiting more volunteers to administer the shots, and expanding vaccine eligibility. President Biden has called for every adult in the U.S. to be eligible for a vaccine by May 1st, with the goal of returning to some kind of normalcy by July 4th.
That doesn't mean large events with lots of people together, but it does mean small groups will be able to get together. After this long, hard year, that will make this Independence Day something truly special.
Some states are even getting creative with their vaccine campaigns. New York City is operating multiple sites 24 hours a day. Minnesota is allowing dentists to administer doses, and Colorado's governor has pledged all adults will be eligible even sooner than President Biden's order.
We're ready to vaccinate more Coloradans faster than ever before. We simply need the vaccine, and the good news from Washington is the vaccine is coming.
But the surge in supply also brings new challenges. Vaccinations have already been distributed unequally across the country, a problem experts expect to get worse in the coming months. The Biden administration is also taking steps to make it easier to get an appointment. By May 1st, a website will be launched to help people find a vaccination site near them. In New York, Alex Hogan, Fox News.
All right, let's talk weather, and let's turn it over to meteorologist Nick Kelly. Nick.
Thankfully, we enjoyed a quiet afternoon, Mike, and we took advantage of that to get temperatures actually into the mid-60s. A bit warmer than I expected, but we'll certainly take it. 49 this morning, a high of 66. That's despite clouds and rain to start the day out. But all this rain that we've had so far and more rain on the way is leaving flood warnings for much of southwest Missouri until we hit the midnight hour. And more flood warnings across southeast Kansas, and even flood watches clipping parts of southeast Kansas going into tomorrow, because even though we're quiet now, the system out west that's ready to produce a big snowstorm for parts of Wyoming and Colorado, and producing severe weather out in the panhandle of Texas. That storm system's heading our way for tomorrow to bring in more rain, more thunderstorm chances. And while I don't see any severe weather, it's just more rain that we don't need. And temperatures will be impacted tomorrow with highs around lunchtime only near 62. We'll see how much more rain's on the way, Mike, and we'll look down the road at the week ahead of us here in just a bit.
All right, sounds like a plan, Nick. Earlier today, the Spring River Wellness Center hosted a Lovin' on the Educators event so they could give back to teachers and school staff in Cherokee County, Kansas. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky checked it out.
The past year has been a challenge due to the pandemic. One group feeling the effects extra hard, educators.
The teachers have had a hard year.
The Spring River Wellness Center in Riverton saw a need to help teachers in the community and held a Lovin' on the Teachers event, showcasing their appreciation and support.
There was a need voiced in the community for some extra support for teachers and educators.
The Wellness Center offered many options for educators to de-stress.
We have essential oils to help with stress, anxiety, relaxation. There's some goodie bags. We have pedicures going on and a breakfast, and Griggs was doing spinal screenings.
Chad Harper, principal at Riverton High School, has seen firsthand how the past year has been a heavy load on teachers.
So an event put on like this truly helps teachers understand that they are appreciated outside the classroom as well as inside the classroom.
One teacher's aide, Shasta Parker, says it's nice to be supported.
I think it's just a great way for teachers and other staff to get together and kind of relax and just socialize outside of school and just have that recognition. I mean, it has been a year.
She says it's been a rough transition teaching in person amid the pandemic.
It's stressful. You're constantly having to remind kids to put their mask on, lots of hand sanitizing, so lots of dry hands, washing your hands constantly. And it's just everything different, from the cafeteria to the hallways to the bathrooms, everything it's just a different way of learning to do things.
Events like this just remind educators that their hard work doesn't go unnoticed. In Riverton, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
The Creative Learning Alliance is bringing a science center to Joplin. The center isn't expected to open until the year 2025, and at the moment, the Alliance is unable to take their mobile exhibits out in public. Instead, they have teamed up with Joplin's Empire Market to introduce their Show Me STEAM Physics Fun Bags. The bags include anything one would need for a physics experiment at home. This week's bag was a triangle tower.
Yeah, so we've got like newspaper and then the golf ball, and then there's some mailing labels. So kids will actually roll up the newspaper and then put together a triangle and use the golf ball to kind of see how they can balance it and build a little tower to figure out how compression and tension works in the everyday world.
The Alliance says that their upcoming center will be for people of all ages.